right, so get this. We're diving deep today into the gut-brain connection, and wow, you guys sent in a ton of stuff. Like everything from scientific papers on Alzheimer's to like articles on gut bacteria and cancer treatments. So today's mission basically is to help you cut through all that and figure out what's really proven, where the research is headed and what it all means for you.
Yeah, it's fascinating. We're totally moving past that old idea of the gut microbiome just being for digestion.
Yeah.
I mean, now we're seeing it could impact things we never thought were connected, especially the brain. It's like a whole new frontier in health and disease.
Okay, so let's unpack this starting with the basics.
Yeah.
We've got like trillions of microorganisms living in our gut.
Right.
But it's not just bacteria hanging out down there.
Right. You're totally right. It's a massive, diverse community down there. We're talking bacteria, archaea, fungi, viruses, even phages, which are like viruses that infect bacteria.
Wow.
It's this whole crew that we call the gut microbiota, and it does way more than just digestion.
Yeah. So give us the rundown. What else does this microbiota actually do?
Well, for starters, it's like a huge factor in regulating your immune system. You can almost think of it as like a boot camp for your immune cells, teaching them to recognize the good guys from the bad. It helps us break down food and absorb nutrients. But here's where it gets really wild. Research is showing it might even influence things like our mood, our heart health, and even those scary neurodegenerative diseases.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying our gut could be affecting our mood and even how our brain ages. That's kind of a lot to process. So how does this community even form? Are we born with it or does it change over time?
It's actually both. It's like this dynamic system that's constantly being shaped by a ton of things. Obviously, what you eat is a big one. Different foods fuel different bacteria.
Yeah.
But your age, your environment, even how you were born can make a difference.
Wait a minute. Now you're saying how we're born can impact our gut. That's wild.
Right. And get this, even the placenta has its own unique microbiome. Scientists are still trying to figure out if babies actually have a microbiome before birth, but it's clear that those early exposures are really important.
Okay, so we've got this like bustling community of microbes in our gut, affected by everything from our diet to how we were born. But how does it connect to the brain? How are these little organisms talking to something as complex as our nervous system?
Yeah, that's where the gut-brain axis comes in. It's basically a communication network between your gut and your brain. And the crazy thing is it's a two-way street. So signals from your gut can influence the brain, and signals from your brain can influence the gut. It's like a constant conversation going on between these two seemingly distant parts of our body.
So what are the channels of communication here? Were we talking like snail mail or high-speed internet?
Definitely high-speed internet. Actually, multiple high-speed connections all working together. One major player is your nervous system. You've got the vagus nerve, which is like a superhighway connecting your gut and brain. Then there's your enteric nervous system, sometimes called the second brain, which is this whole network of nerves in your gut. And your spinal nerves even get involved too.
Wow, so we've got nerves running back and forth. But are there other ways the gut and brain are communicating?
Absolutely. Your immune system is key. You've got immune cells and signaling molecules called cytokines carrying messages between the two. Your endocrine system, which produces hormones, is also involved. And then there's direct signaling through microbial metabolites. Those are the byproducts of all that activity happening in your gut. And some of them can actually directly interact with brain cells.
Okay, so we're talking nerves, immune cells, hormones, even the waste products from our gut bacteria, all playing a part in this gut-brain communication. My head is spinning. But can you give me a concrete example of how the gut microbiome might be influencing the brain? Something our listener can really grab onto.
Well, how about this? Your gut microbiome actually produces neurotransmitters.
No way.
Okay.
Like the same ones our brain uses.
Yep. It actually produces neurotransmitters like GABA and serotonin, which are key players in things like mood and sleep and a whole bunch of other brain functions. It's pretty mind-blowing to think about, those bacteria in our gut are making the same chemicals that our brains use to communicate.
That is wild. It really drives home how interconnected everything is. But what happens if things go wrong in the gut? Could that lead to problems in the brain too?
That's the million-dollar question, and that takes us to our next stop on this deep dive, the link between gut dysbiosis and brain problems, especially those neurodegenerative diseases.
Dysbiosis. Okay, that sounds ominous.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean?
Dysbiosis basically means the gut microbiome is out of whack. It's like an ecosystem that's gone haywire. We're talking changes in the types of microbes, the ratio of good to bad bacteria, and even how those microbes are functioning.
So it's not just who's there, but how they're behaving too.
Exactly. And scientists are finding that this dysbiosis is linked to a whole bunch of health issues, especially brain disorders. And one that's been getting a lot of attention is Alzheimer's disease.
Let's zoom in on Alzheimer's for a second.
Yeah.
What's the connection between gut dysbiosis and this disease?
Well, multiple studies have shown a strong link between gut dysbiosis and what's happening in the brains of people with Alzheimer's. For instance, the gut microbiome in people with Alzheimer's looks different than the gut microbiome of healthy folks. We see increases in certain bacteria like Enterococcus bayonella, Propionibacterium, and Rothia, and decreases in others like Erysipelotrichaceae and Certae satis, Olsonella, Lactobacillus, Escherichia shigella, and Streptococcus, and these shifts seem to be connected to how the disease progresses, and they might even play a role in how it starts.
Wow, so certain gut bacteria are being linked to Alzheimer's. But how could microbes in our gut be affecting a disease that's all about the brain?
There are a few theories, and it's likely a combination of things. One area of focus is how gut dysbiosis affects your gut lining. You might have heard of leaky gut, which means the lining of your gut gets more permeable and lets things through that shouldn't be there.
So it's like a breakdown in the wall that's supposed to keep stuff in the gut.
Exactly. And when that happens, inflammatory molecules produced in your gut can leak into your bloodstream and reach your brain, causing inflammation there too.
Wait, so inflammation in my gut could be contributing to inflammation in my brain. Okay. I'm officially creeped out.
It's definitely something to think about. Another way gut dysbiosis might be involved is through the production of microbial metabolites, those byproducts we talked about earlier. One example is a compound called trimethylamine N-oxide, or TMAO for short.
TMAO, doesn't that have something to do with heart health too?
Your sharp, high TMAO levels have been linked to an increased risk of heart attacks and strokes. It seems like this one byproduct from our gut bacteria could be a troublemaker in multiple ways.
Yikes, talk about a double whammy. But let's get back to TMAO in the brain. How is it causing problems there?
Research is ongoing, but it looks like TMAO might contribute to the buildup of amyloid plaques in the brain, which is one of the hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease. It could also be making that neuroinflammation worse, which damages brain cells.
So not only can inflammation from the gut travel to the brain, but the gut microbiome can also make substances that directly contribute to brain disease. I'm getting a whole new appreciation for gut health.
It really emphasizes the connection. And there's another study that found even short courses of antibiotics can change the diversity of gut microbes and influence brain inflammation and amyloid buildup in mice with an Alzheimer's-like disease.
Hold up, antibiotics. The stuff we take to fight infections could be messing with our brains.
That's what the research is suggesting. It just shows how sensitive that gut-brain connection is and how even temporary disruptions can have big effects.
We've really dug into the link between gut dysbiosis and Alzheimer's. But what about other brain disorders? Does the gut microbiome play a role there too?
There's mounting evidence that the gut microbiome might be involved in a whole range of neurological disorders. For example, with Parkinson's disease, they found that transferring gut bacteria from people with Parkinson's to mice actually caused the mice to develop movement problems.
Wait, they gave mice human gut bacteria, and the mice started showing Parkinson's symptoms. That's wild.
It's a pretty dramatic demonstration of how powerful the gut microbiome can be. Studies have also consistently found higher levels of certain bacteria like Bifidobacterium, Allostepes, Crichtonsinella, Enterococcus, Ocelospira, Bellophila, Desulfovibrio, Escherichia shigella, and Akkermansia in people with Parkinson's disease.
So similar to Alzheimer's, we're seeing specific changes in gut bacteria linked to Parkinson's. This gut-brain connection is getting more real by the minute. What about other conditions? Any similar links?
You bet. In amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS, researchers have observed a decrease in a bacteria called Akkermansia muciniphila. And the less of this bacteria there is, the worse the disease seems to get.
So once again, we're seeing specific bacteria playing a role in a serious brain disorder. It makes you wonder if we could actually change the gut microbiome to help with these conditions.
Now you're thinking like a scientist. That's the big question researchers are tackling, and it's driving a whole new wave of exploration into how we can manipulate the gut microbiome to improve brain health.
This is where it gets really interesting. So how could we actually manipulate the gut microbiome? What tools are we talking about?
Well, there are a few approaches being explored, and each one comes with its own set of challenges and possibilities. But the most accessible one, and really the foundation of it all, is diet.
Diet, the cornerstone of health. So can we actually eat our way to a healthier brain by changing our gut microbiome?
Research is saying that certain ways of eating can have a big impact on the types and activity of the microbes in your gut. One diet that's showing promise, especially for Alzheimer's disease, is called the Modified Mediterranean Ketogenic Diet, or MMKD.
The MMKD.
Okay, what's so special about that one?
Well, it combines the best of both worlds. The Mediterranean diet, which is known for its emphasis on fruits, veggies, whole grains, and healthy fats, with the ketogenic diet, which is very low in carbs and forces your body to burn fat for energy. This combo seems to be especially good at reversing the negative changes in fats and other molecules that are seen in Alzheimer's disease.
So it's like a targeted approach to tackle those specific changes we see in Alzheimer's. Pretty cool. Right, and it's not the only diet being studied. The MIND diet, which focuses on antioxidants and omega-3 fatty acids, and the traditional Mediterranean diet also seem to be beneficial for brain health.
Okay, so we've got these different diets that could nourish our gut microbiome and maybe protect our brain. But are there other ways to change the gut microbiome? What about those prebiotics and probiotics we hear so much about?
Those are definitely part of the conversation. Let's start with prebiotics. Think of them like fertilizer for the good bacteria in your gut. They're non-digestible fibers that selectively feed those beneficial microbes, helping them grow and flourish.
So we're feeding the good guys in our gut. I like it. But what kinds of foods have prebiotics in them?
You'll find prebiotics in things like onions, garlic leeks, asparagus, bananas, and whole grains. They're also available as supplements.
Yeah.
The key is to have a variety of prebiotic-rich foods in your diet to support a diverse and healthy gut microbiome.
Got it. Feed the good bacteria with prebiotics. Now, what are probiotics? Those are the actual live bacteria that we consume, right?
That's right. Probiotics are live microorganisms that can actually benefit our health when we eat enough of them. They're like reinforcements for your gut microbiome, adding more good bacteria to the mix.
So where do we find these friendly bacteria?
You can find them naturally in fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, and kombucha. They're also available in a wide range of supplements.
All right, so we can eat probiotic-rich foods or take supplements to boost our gut microbiome. But have scientists actually tested whether probiotics can help with brain disorders like Alzheimer's?
They have, and there are some promising findings that suggest certain types of probiotics might benefit Alzheimer's patients. But we need more research to confirm this and figure out the best strains and doses.
So it's not as simple as just popping any probiotic and expecting a miracle cure. There's more to it than that.
Definitely. The gut microbiome is incredibly complex, and we're still figuring out all the details of how different probiotics interact with it and impact our health.
Okay, so we've got diet prebiotics and probiotics as tools for changing the gut microbiome. But are there any more advanced techniques being explored?
There's one more that's gaining traction, fecal microbiota transplantation, or FMT for short.
FMT. Okay. I'm intrigued, but also slightly terrified. What exactly is that?
It involves transferring fecal matter from a healthy donor to a recipient. The idea is to basically reboot the recipient's gut microbiome with a healthy and diverse community of microbes.
So it's like a total gut makeover.
You could say that it's been remarkably successful in treating C. difficile infection, which is a nasty bacterial infection that's really hard to get rid of with antibiotics.
So it's a proven therapy for certain gut infections?
Yeah.
But what about brain disorders? Is there any evidence that FMT could help with those?
It's still early days for FMT and brain disorders, but there's a lot of interest in exploring its potential. Some small studies have shown positive results, but we need much larger and more rigorous trials to know for sure if it's safe and effective for these complex conditions.
All right, so FMT is on the radar, but still needs more research before it becomes a mainstream treatment for brain disorders. But what about the future of this whole field of gut-brain research? Where do you see this going?
I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible. The potential for personalized medicine based on an individual's unique gut microbiome is incredibly exciting.
Personalized medicine for our gut. So tailoring treatments based on someone's specific gut bacteria.
Exactly. Imagine being able to analyze someone's gut microbiome and pinpoint the imbalances that might be contributing to their health issues. Then we could potentially develop targeted therapies, whether it's through diet, prebiotics, probiotics, or even FMT, to address those specific problems.
That's amazing. It sounds like the future of medicine. But I imagine this kind of personalized approach requires a deep understanding of the gut microbiome. How are scientists working to gain that level of knowledge?
It's definitely a complex challenge, and it requires large-scale studies to confirm findings and identify those specific bacterial strains and metabolites that we can target with treatments.
It sounds like this isn't a quick fix, but the potential is huge. What are some of the key research questions that scientists are wrestling with right now?
One of the biggest ones is, can we identify specific microbial patterns or signatures that can predict whether someone is likely to develop certain brain diseases? If we could, that would open up the possibility of intervening early and maybe even preventing those diseases altogether.
So it's like using the gut microbiome as a crystal ball to predict future health risks. That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. And another intriguing question is, could we one day have a gut microbiome report card that gives you a detailed analysis of your gut health and your risk factors for various conditions? This could empower people to take proactive steps to improve their gut microbiome and potentially lower their risk of developing those conditions.
It sounds like we're on the verge of a revolution in how we approach health and disease. And it's all thanks to this incredible world inside us. It's amazing to think that these microscopic organisms could be the key to unlocking new frontiers in brain health. Before we get too carried away, let's recap what we've learned so far. What are the key takeaways for our listener who's been on this fascinating journey with us?
The first and most important takeaway is that the gut microbiome is a crucial player in overall health, and that includes brain health. It's not just about digestion anymore. We're talking about a complex ecosystem that influences everything from our immune system and metabolism to our mood and behavior.
Right. It's time to start thinking of our gut microbiome as a vital organ.
Exactly. The second takeaway is that gut dysbiosis, or an imbalance in the gut microbiome, has been linked to a growing list of health issues, including brain disorders like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. The research is still unfolding, but the connection is becoming clearer and clearer.
So we need to start thinking about gut health as a key part of brain health.
Absolutely. And finally, the third takeaway is that there are things we can do to positively influence our gut microbiome. Diet is a major factor, and so are prebiotics and probiotics. Even exercise has been shown to benefit the gut microbiome.
It's empowering to know we have some control over this complex system. If you're listening to this and feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this info, don't worry. We'll be back in the next part of our deep dive to explore even more fascinating aspects of the gut-brain connection. We'll delve into specific ways to improve your gut microbiome, discuss the latest research on treatments, and explore what it all means for the future of health and disease. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the gut-brain connection.
You know, when we left off, we were talking about the incredible potential of personalized medicine based on a person's unique gut microbiome profile. It sounds like science fiction, but it's getting closer to reality every day.
It really is. The more we learn about the gut microbiome, the more we realize how unique it is to each individual. It's like a fingerprint, shaped by our genes, our environment, our lifestyle, and countless other factors.
So if everyone's gut microbiome is so unique, does that mean there's no one-size-fits-all approach to gut health? Is it all about finding what works best for each person?
That's a great question, and it's complicated. While there are general principles that apply to most people, like eating a diverse diet full of fiber, limiting processed foods, and managing stress, what a healthy gut microbiome looks like can be different from person to person.
So it's not as simple as having the right good bacteria. It's more about how the whole ecosystem is balanced and working together.
Exactly. And that's why these personalized approaches are so exciting. Imagine being able to analyze someone's gut microbiome and see exactly which imbalances might be contributing to their health problems. Then we could create treatments that address those specific issues.
That's pretty mind-blowing. But let's get practical for a second. What are some things our listener can do today to start building a healthier gut microbiome?
Well, one of the most powerful tools you have is your diet. As we talked about earlier, the foods you eat provide fuel for the bacteria in your gut.
So we're back to the importance of diet. But can you give us some more specifics? What are the key things to keep in mind when it comes to eating for a healthy gut microbiome?
Diversity is key. You want to eat a wide range of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. These foods provide different types of prebiotic fibers that nourish various beneficial bacteria, leading to a diverse and resilient gut microbiome.
So it's like creating a buffet for our gut bacteria, making sure there's something delicious for everyone.
Exactly. And just as important as what you eat is what you don't eat. You want to limit processed foods, sugary drinks, and artificial sweeteners because they can mess up the balance of your gut microbiome and encourage the growth of harmful bacteria.
Okay, got it. Diversity is in, processed foods are out. But what about fermented foods? We touched on those earlier. Are they really as good for gut health as everyone says?
Fermented foods can be a great addition to a gut-healthy diet. As we mentioned, they're natural sources of probiotics, those live microorganisms that can benefit our health when we eat enough of them.
So eating fermented foods is like giving our gut microbiome a direct infusion of friendly bacteria.
You got it. Think of foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, and kombucha as allies in your quest for a healthy gut. Just remember to choose unpasteurized versions because pasteurization kills the live bacteria.
Unpasteurized, check. But what about probiotic supplements? Are those just as good as getting probiotics from food?
Probiotic supplements can be helpful, especially if you're not a big fan of fermented foods or if you're dealing with a specific gut issue. However, the world of probiotic supplements can be a bit overwhelming.
There are so many different kinds and brands, it's hard to know where to start.
It's always a good idea to talk to your doctor before starting any new supplements, including probiotics. They can help you figure out if a probiotic is right for you and recommend specific types based on your individual needs.
Personalized guidance is key. But what about the science behind these probiotics? Have we actually seen benefits in studies with real people?
There's definitely growing evidence that probiotics can be beneficial for a range of health conditions. For instance, certain probiotic strains have been shown to help treat diarrhea, irritable bowel syndrome, and even eczema.
So probiotics might help with more than just gut health.
Absolutely. And as research continues, we'll likely discover even more health benefits linked to specific probiotic strains.
The future of probiotics sounds pretty exciting. But let's shift gears for a minute and talk about something a little less glamorous. Poop.
Ah, yes, poop. It's not the most appealing topic, but it's an important one. Your poop can tell you a lot about the health of your gut microbiome.
You're talking about the Bristol stool chart, right? The one that classifies poop into different types.
Exactly. The Bristol stool chart is a handy tool for checking the consistency of your bowel movements, which can indicate how well your gut is functioning.
So what should we be aiming for? What does a healthy poop look like?
Ideally, your poop should be type 3 or 4 on the Bristol stool chart, smooth and soft, like a sausage or a snake, easy to pass. If you're constantly having diarrhea, constipation, or other digestive problems, it could be a sign that your gut microbiome is out of balance.
So pay attention to your poop. It's your gut's way of talking to you.
Wow.
But what are some other signs of an unhealthy gut? Are there any red flags we should be watching out for?
Yes, definitely. If you're experiencing a lot of bloating, gas, abdominal pain, indigestion, or heartburn, those could be signs of gut imbalance. Food sensitivities and intolerances can also be indicators.
So listen to your body. If your gut is talking, it's important to pay attention. But let's circle back to the brain for a moment. We've talked about how the gut can influence the brain, but can the brain influence the gut too?
Absolutely. Remember, the gut-brain axis is a two-way street. The brain can send signals that affect gut function, including things like how quickly food moves through your system, how much digestive juice is produced, and even the makeup of your gut microbiome.
So our thoughts, emotions, and stress levels can actually change the bacteria in our gut.
That's right. It's a powerful reminder of just how interconnected our mind and body are. Stress, for example, can release hormones that mess with gut motility and make your gut lining more permeable, which can lead to gut dysbiosis.
So managing stress isn't just good for our mental health, it's good for our gut health too.
Exactly. And it's not just stress. Things like sleep, exercise, and even social interactions can affect the gut-brain connection.
It's like our gut microbiome is an extension of our brain. Or maybe our brain is an extension of our gut.
I love that way of thinking about it. It highlights the importance of a holistic approach to health, recognizing that all the systems in our body are interconnected and influence each other.
Okay, so we've covered diet, fermented foods, probiotics, and even poop. But what about other lifestyle factors that can impact gut health? What about exercise? Does it play a role?
Exercise is a fantastic way to support a healthy gut microbiome. Studies have shown that regular physical activity can increase the diversity of your gut bacteria and promote the growth of beneficial species.
So hitting the gym isn't just good for our muscles and heart, it's good for our gut bugs too.
That's right. And it doesn't have to be intense workouts. Even moderate exercise like brisk walking, swimming, or dancing can have a positive impact on your gut microbiome.
So get moving. Your gut will thank you. But what about sleep? We all know how important sleep is for our overall health, but does it affect the gut microbiome specifically?
Sleep is absolutely crucial for gut health. Research has shown that not getting enough sleep can disrupt the balance of your gut microbiome and increase inflammation in your gut.
So those late nights and early mornings might be taking a toll on our gut bacteria.
They certainly can. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night to support a healthy gut microbiome and overall well-being.
Okay, sleep is in, all-nighters are out. We've been focusing on the individual a lot here, but what about the bigger picture? Are there any environmental factors that can influence the gut microbiome?
Absolutely. Our environment plays a big role in shaping our gut microbiome. Exposure to antibiotics, pesticides, and other chemicals can disrupt the balance of bacteria in our gut, which could lead to health problems.
So it's not just about what we put into our bodies, but also about the world around us.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting because it raises questions about how our modern lifestyle might be impacting our gut health.
Let's explore that a bit. How is our modern way of life potentially affecting our gut microbiome?
Well, think about it. We live in a world filled with highly processed foods, constant stress, lack of sleep, and widespread use of antibiotics. All of these things can have a negative impact on the diversity and balance of our gut microbiome.
It sounds like we're creating the perfect environment for an unhealthy gut.
In some ways, yes. And that's why it's more important than ever to be mindful of our lifestyle choices and how they affect our gut health.
So it's not just about individual choices, but also about the systems and structures that shape our environment.
Absolutely. Addressing gut health requires us to look at things from multiple angles, considering both individual and societal factors.
That makes a lot of sense. We've talked about how the gut microbiome can impact brain health, but are there any specific brain functions that are particularly vulnerable to problems in the gut?
Research suggests that gut dysbiosis might affect a whole range of brain functions, including mood, cognition, sleep, and even social behavior.
Wow, so it's not just about protecting ourselves from serious brain diseases. Gut health could be impacting our day-to-day mental and emotional well-being too.
That's what the research is suggesting. We're seeing links between gut dysbiosis and anxiety, depression, and even autism spectrum disorder.
So if we want to feel our best mentally and emotionally, we need to start paying attention to our gut health.
Absolutely. A healthy gut microbiome is essential for optimal brain function and overall well-being.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, from the basics of the gut microbiome to the potential of personalized medicine and the impact of our modern lifestyle. But let's shift gears and talk about the exciting world of research. What are scientists doing to further our understanding of the gut-brain connection?
The field of gut-brain research is booming right now, with new discoveries happening all the time. Scientists are using cutting-edge tools like metagenomics and metabolomics to unravel the complex interactions between gut microbes and the brain.
Okay, break those down for us. Metagenomics and metabolomics, those sound pretty high-tech.
They are. Metagenomics allows scientists to analyze the genetic material of all the microorganisms in a community, giving us a snapshot of the types of bacteria, fungi, viruses, and other microbes that are present in the gut.
So it's like taking a census of the gut microbiome.
Exactly. And metabolomics is the study of metabolites, which are the small molecules produced by cells during metabolism. By analyzing the metabolites in the gut, scientists can get insights into what the gut microbiome is doing and how it's affecting the host.
So it's like looking at the fingerprints left behind by gut bacteria to see what they've been up to.
That's a great analogy. By combining these powerful techniques, scientists are starting to identify specific microbial species and metabolites that are associated with various health conditions.
So it's like detective work, but on a microscopic level.
Precisely. And this detective work is leading to incredible breakthroughs. For example, scientists are now identifying specific microbial metabolites that can cross the blood-brain barrier and directly influence brain function.
Wait, so these tiny molecules produced by gut bacteria can actually get into our brains?
They can. It's a remarkable discovery that highlights just how powerful the gut-brain connection is.
It's mind-boggling to think about these tiny organisms having such a big impact on our brains. But what about the future of research? Where do you see this field going?
I think we're on the verge of a revolution in how we approach health and disease, all thanks to this growing understanding of the gut-brain connection. One area I'm particularly excited about is the development of new treatments that target the gut microbiome to improve brain health.
Now we're talking. What kind of treatments are we envisioning here?
Well, we've already discussed diet, prebiotics, and probiotics, which are all ways to modulate the gut microbiome. But scientists are also exploring more targeted approaches, like developing drugs that specifically target certain bacterial pathways or metabolites.
So it's like precision medicine for the gut microbiome.
Exactly. Another area of exploration is phage therapy, which uses viruses that infect bacteria to target specific harmful bacteria in the gut.
So it's like using viruses as tiny assassins to take out the bad guys in our gut.
That's a good way to put it. Phage therapy is still in its early stages, but it has the potential to be a powerful tool for manipulating the gut microbiome.
It sounds like the possibilities are endless. But with all this talk about manipulating the gut microbiome, Are there any things we need to be cautious about?
That's a crucial point. As with any new technology or treatment, it's important to proceed carefully and consider the potential downsides. One concern is the possibility of unintended consequences.
Okay, what kind of unintended consequences are we talking about?
Well, the gut microbiome is incredibly complex, and we're still learning about all the intricate interactions between different microbial species and the host. Changing the gut microbiome could have unexpected effects on other parts of the body, or even on the environment.
So it's like messing with a delicate ecosystem. We need to be careful not to upset the natural balance.
Precisely. Another thing to consider is the potential for unequal access to these new treatments. If personalized gut microbiome therapies become a reality, we need to make sure everyone can benefit from them, regardless of their income or social status.
That's a really important point. We need to make sure these advancements in gut health benefit everyone, not just a select few.
Absolutely. And finally, we need to be mindful of the potential for overdiagnosis and overtreatment. Just because we can analyze the gut microbiome in great detail doesn't mean we need to intervene in every case.
So it's about using this knowledge wisely and responsibly.
Exactly. We need to strike a balance between using the power of the gut microbiome to improve health and respecting the complexity of this incredible ecosystem.
Well said. It sounds like the future of gut-brain research is full of both promise and challenges.
It certainly is. But I'm incredibly optimistic about the potential of this field to change how we approach health and disease. By unraveling the mysteries of the gut-brain connection, we're opening up new possibilities for treating and even preventing a wide range of conditions, from neurological disorders to metabolic diseases to mental health issues. It's a truly exciting time to be involved in this field.
It's been an amazing journey so far, but we're running out of time for this segment. We'll be back in part 3 to wrap up our deep dive into the gut-brain connection. We'll explore some of the most groundbreaking research that's shaping the field, discuss the potential of personalized nutrition, and ponder the philosophical implications of this intimate connection between our gut and our brain. So stay tuned. Welcome back. It's incredible how much we've uncovered about this hidden world inside us. We've gone from basic definitions to mind-blowing research on personalized medicine, and even talked about the ethics of messing with the gut microbiome. But before we wrap up, I'm dying to hear about the cutting-edge research happening right now. What's really pushing the boundaries of our understanding in this field?
Well, one area that's particularly fascinating is the role of the gut microbiome and how our brains develop. We've talked about the impact on adult brains, but it's becoming increasingly clear that the gut microbiome is shaping our brains from infancy and maybe even before we're born.
Hold on. You're telling me the bacteria in our gut are influencing our brains before we're even born? That's crazy.
It is. And it has huge implications for understanding neurodevelopmental disorders like autism. Some researchers believe that disruptions in the gut microbiome during crucial stages of brain development could be a factor in these conditions.
So our genes aren't the only thing shaping who we are. Our gut microbiome could be playing a role right from the start.
That's a powerful thought, isn't it? And it opens up new possibilities for interventions. What if we could identify specific microbial imbalances linked to neurodevelopmental disorders? Maybe we could develop treatments to correct those imbalances and change things for the better.
That would be a game changer. It could revolutionize how we approach these conditions. But what about other areas of research? What else is on the horizon?
Another exciting area is the concept of psychobiotics.
Psychobiotics. Okay, that's a new one. What exactly are we talking about here?
Psychobiotics are basically probiotics that have been shown to have positive effects on mental health. Researchers are finding specific types of bacteria that, when consumed, can lift your mood, reduce anxiety, and even improve how your brain works.
So it's like a probiotic specifically for your brain. Sign me up.
But seriously, are we talking about bacteria that can actually get into our brains and change things?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
While some microbial byproducts can cross the blood-brain barrier, psychobiotics probably work through more indirect routes. They might influence the production of neurotransmitters in the gut, adjust your immune system, or even use the vagus nerve to communicate with the brain.
So it's like a chain reaction. The bacteria in our gut set things in motion that ultimately affect our brains.
That's a great way to put it. And the research on psychobiotics is looking really good. We're seeing positive results in studies on anxiety, depression, and even how people cope with stress.
It's amazing to think that something as simple as eating certain bacteria could have such a big impact on our mental well-being. Let's talk more about personalized nutrition. We touched on this earlier, but I want to dig deeper. What are the chances of creating diet plans based on an individual's gut microbiome? This is where things start to get really interesting. Imagine getting your gut microbiome analyzed and receiving personalized diet recommendations tailored to the specific bacteria living in your gut.
So it's like having a nutritionist who knows exactly what your gut needs.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just generic advice like eat more fiber or cut back on sugar. We're talking about identifying specific foods that encourage the growth of good bacteria in your gut and avoiding foods that might trigger inflammation or throw your microbiome off balance.
It's incredible. How close are we to actually having this kind of personalized nutrition?
Well, there are already companies offering gut microbiome testing and personalized dietary advice. However, the field is still pretty new. We need more research to make sure these approaches are accurate and effective.
So it's a promising area, but it's important to be cautious.
Definitely. Choose reputable companies that are backed by science and talk to your doctor about your results and how to create a personalized plan.
Okay, personalized nutrition is definitely something to keep an eye on. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I can't help but think about the bigger picture. What does this connection between our gut and our brain tell us about being human?
That's a great question. I think it challenges the idea that we're just our brains. The gut-brain connection suggests that we're more than that. We're complex ecosystems, interconnected networks of organisms and systems that are constantly influencing each other.
So we're not just individuals, but also communities.
Exactly. And the gut microbiome really highlights that. It reminds us that all living things are connected and depend on each other.
It's humbling to think that we're not as independent as we might believe.
It is. It encourages us to think about our health in a more holistic way. We need to take care of our gut microbiome just like we care for any other part of ourselves.
That's a great point. This has been an incredible journey exploring the gut-brain connection. We've learned so much about this hidden world inside us and how it affects our health and well-being.
It really has been a fascinating exploration. And as we've learned, the gut microbiome is always changing, influenced by our choices and our surroundings. It's a powerful reminder that we have the ability to shape our health and well-being through our everyday actions. When you make choices that support a healthy gut microbiome, you're not just investing in your physical health, but also your mental and emotional well-being. So nourish your gut, cultivate a diverse and thriving microbiome, and embrace the interconnectedness of your mind and body. You'll be grateful you did.
That's a perfect note to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the gut-brain connection. We hope you found it as fascinating and thought-provoking as we have. Until next time, keep those gut bugs happy.